Hey, happy Monday. I hope you had a lovely weekend. I hope that you enjoyed something relaxing or something fun and that you were good to your mom since yesterday was, in fact, Mother's Day. So this week we have a new short story to read. So basically because we were not able to meet again in person, I could not keep any of the stuff we normally do for the rest of the second semester or second quarter of the class, fourth quarter in your case. So everything we've been doing is stuff that's new after Gothic literature. So I hope you're enjoying the short stories I've picked. I welcome some feedback because these are new. Sorry, all my dog's trying to be crazy. Because these are new. So if you're enjoying it, let me know. If you're like, this story was dumb, find a nice way to tell me that. Hey, be nice. Y'all want to see him? No, wait, hold on. That's my dog. He's being a pain and trying to jump at my cat who's chilling up there because dogs are a pain sometimes. That's how they work. Yikes. Anyways, we have a new story. It's called The Old Man of the Temple. So it's posted for you on Haiku, so you should definitely read it and then watch this video for some clarification, okay? Just ignore him being crazy in the background. My apologies. Working from home can be tough, y'all. So at the very beginning, we have like they're framing the story a little bit. The talkative man is telling us this story, who's our narrator. And he says, it happened a long time ago, and like, look, I'm just interested, what do you think? Because I can't tell if my driver was drunk or not. But I don't know. So he tells us that he had to get a taxi to go to a city 50 miles away for work. And he lives in a busy city and doesn't drive himself. That's the thing. He requires a taxi driver. And he says that this one guy is a really great taxi driver. He is polite, and he is always on time, and he's willing to wait, which is nice. He doesn't yell at other passerbys. He's got good judgment, good sense. He really likes this taxi driver, okay? And they're driving home from his work night, and it's after 11 p.m. And they're in a more like country area in a little village, and there's not street lights, and most people are going to bed. It's 11 p.m., so most houses are dark, which is kind of dark, and they're just driving around. And all of a sudden, the car swerves, and the driver starts shouting, "You old fool, do you want to kill yourself?" And the guy's like, "Whoa, what happened?" He said, "Do you see that old guy up there?" But our narrator looks out and he's like, I don't see any old man, dude. He's like, he was right out there. I saw him. So he trusts his taxi driver. So he gets out of the car, takes a torch. So that should give you an idea of more time period. So he's it's dark out. But by his torch he means his flashlight, basically. He gets down and there's an old temple. Ruins of an old temple. So they're somewhere rural and rustic, right? You got an old temple that is really broken down. The walls aren't really there anymore. There's lots of branches and like undergrowth grown all around it. So it's really hard to tell like what's the temple, what's just, big bushes. It's just very old. And he's like, there's no one here, dude. And the driver's like, Doss says, no, I saw him walk out of there, open the doors and come out, and he's standing right there. Do you want to go in? And he was like, let's just go home. We're wasting our time here. So they get back to the car, and the driver's like, are you going to let him stay? And our narrator's like, what are you talking about? He's like, he's chilling this old man's sitting in the passenger seat right now, and he wants to know if he can come with us. And the narrator's like, what? There's no one there. Dude, are you drunk? Like, are you feeling okay? Are you dizzy? And Doss is like, I just need a minute. And he puts his head down and, like, passes out. And it scares the narrator. And he, like, wakes him up and, like, shakes him, shaking him, shaking. Are you okay? Are you okay? And what it kind of sounds like, basically, is that Doss gets possessed, right? And this old man basically climbs into Doss's body. And it starts saying, when a man's 80, he's bound to feel a few changes coming on. He's like, you're not 80, Doss. And he was like, yes, I am. And our narrator's like, I can't drive. Doss, you're the one who drives. And he's like, I don't drive. These nude chariots, God knows what they are drawn by. I never understand. I could handle a pair of bullocks in my time. So this old man tells us that he's used to horse-drawn chariots, that he can't see what powers the taxi he's in now. So he's in a car, right? But like the old man's talking about a chariot and horses. So this is implying the old man is from some time way before right now. And then he's like, where's everybody? He's like, what are you talking about? And he was like, come on. No, what are all these? Everyone's around here, but no one comes to temple anymore. They should, but they don't do it. And no one comes to stop and talk. Does a king ever come this way? And he's like, king? What are you talking? We don't have a king, bro. And he's like, you're an idiot, which is interesting to say that to someone when you're claiming that you are seeing old men and things along those lines. His dad's like, you're an idiot. You don't know anything. There's a king here. And he starts walking like he hobbles like he's an old man, even though it's definitely Doss's body. And our narrator follows him because he's like, I don't really understand what's happening. And he's like, go away. Leave me alone. I had enough of you. He was like, Doss, what are you doing? And he's like, who is Doss? Doss. What a terrible name. Call me by my name or leave me alone. Do not follow me calling Doss. And so he asks, well, what is your name then? He says, my name is Krishna Bhattar. You mention my name, people will know for 100 miles around. I built a temple where there was only a cactus field before. I dug the earth, burned every rock, put them up on a tower, and another single-handed. So he's saying he built this temple. The temple that's in ruins now. Again, an implication this man is from a different time. So he was like, so who's the king? And the guy's like, how do you know who our king is? What's wrong with you? And he was like, look, I know, I've been around here for a long stinking time, and I know there's no king here. I've been around here for so long. There is no king. Like, I'm convinced, I'm certain of it, no king. And he's like, how dare you say that? The king's gonna come get you. Like, what? That's awful. What's wrong with you? And he was like, how could you not know the king? That's ridiculous. And he says, can you just tell me the name of our king? He says, Vishnu Barma, the emperor of emperors. And he's like, he can't even remember anyone like of that name. He's sitting there racking his brain and he's like, what on earth is going on? Like, I can't even think of anything right now. Like, this is craziness. What on earth is happening? And he's just staring at this old man and he's confused. Pause for a second, yelling at my dog on in a place where he's not going to freak out any longer. Come here, buddy. Say hi, buddy. That's my dog, being a pain in the butt. He doesn't understand what's happening in quarantine, so hope you guys enjoy your brief moments of viewing my dog. But he was like, sir, I think you're dead. And he was like, dead? I'm not dead. How could I be dead? I'm standing right in front of you. And he was like, look, I don't really know how, but according to your story, you're like more than 500 years old, and most men don't live over 100. And he was like, what? He basically explains it to him, and the old man says, okay, well, I was coming to the jungle one night after visiting my sister in the next village. I had some money on me and some gold ornaments, and a gang of robbers jumped on me. I gave them as good a fight, but they were too many for me. They beat me down and knifed me. They thought they'd kill me, but they didn't. I got up and tried to go home, but they were gone. So I went to the temple, and I've been here since. And he was like, oh, dude, those robbers killed you. You are super dead. You need to try to, like, cross over, you know, see the light, leave. And he was like, what? How? What's going to happen to the temple? He said, other people are going to look after the temple. He said, where should I go? And he was like, well, don't you have family? And he was like, my wife loves me very much. He said, you can go to her. He was like, no, she's dead. She died 4 years ago. Just 4 years before he got robbed. He was like, if she had been alive, she would never allow me to walk through the jungle at night. She knows better. And he says, I want you to think of your wife. Think of only your wife and just see what happens. What was her name? So he tells her the name of his wife. He said, think of her. And he's like, I see her. She's right there. I will go to her. And he runs forward, then falls down on the ground. And then Doss is lying on the ground there, right? And he's breathing, and one time he opens his eyes, he can't figure out, he knocks on the first door of the cottage he sees. Like, he needs medical help also. Like, he has no idea what's going on. Doss is lying on the ground, barely breathing. He's banging on the door, and they're like, oh no, it's here. You can hear them talking inside, and like, just cover your ears and sleep. It'll walk for a while and go away. So he kept banging on the door, and basically said, like, no, help me. And then walked to his car and honked the horn. When the whole family came out, and they're like, oh, we thought it was the usual knocking. We wouldn't have opened if you hadn't have said something. And he was like, usual knocking? And they're like, we don't know. I first heard it when my grandfather was living. He used to say he'd seen it once or twice. Doesn't harm anyone as far as I know. The only thing it does is bother the taxis passing the temple and knock on the doors at night. And he said, you know what? I don't think you're going to be bothered anymore. And it proved correct. When I passed that way again months later, I was told the bullocks passing the temple after dusk never shied now. And knocking on the doors was heard at night. So I felt the old fellow really had gone away with his good wife. And the whole point of him telling you that story was to ask, do you think the driver was drunk and feeling crazy and made up a weird story? Or do you think that the ghost of the old man was there and took over? So that's my question for you. You have questions to answer on haiku. Be good. Do good. I love you.